So originally I'm from Derby, Vermont. It's northern Vermont, 2 miles from the border of Canada. I lived there for 18 years, born and raised. I kind of got into the sport. I was 7 years old. I think I was 6. We have good family friends that they ended up getting bikes, and they were kind of a little more into it than we were. Like they got bikes, and then we kind of were like interested in what the sport was. Like, wow, that looks pretty cool, right? So we ended up the following year. My brother and I both got bikes. I think I got a CRF 70, and he got a CRF 100. So just trail bikes, and just kind of got basic gear, helmet. We didn't even have boots for the longest time. I kind of wore like hiking shoes and something, and rode in jeans with a jersey and helmet, like just full starting out, just seeing what it's about, and kind of just started from there. Then we kind of got into the racing side of it, and it was never too serious. Like I kind of wanted it to be, but it was so tough because up there, the seasons are so different. So, you're riding 4 months out of the year, maybe 5 if you're lucky, kind of like actual riding, plus, rain and whatnot. Even the springtime, if it's nice, the ground starts to thaw out, so the ground's so soft you can't even ride on the track if you want to. So you're kind of sitting parked, and it was so tough because every summer when you would start progressing, you'd have 7 months off the bike, 8 months off the bike, and then everything you did, you were always playing catch up, because you'd finally like get up to speed, and then it was like, okay, put them away for the winter. So we didn't really have money or time or anything to travel down south to go ride. Obviously, it was school and all that. Work was more important to the family than racing. Racing was a kind of a pleasure thing. We did it. We enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun doing it. We just never had anything fancy. Just stock bikes. Sometimes we get our suspension done. Sometimes mainly just grips and bars, and try to go have fun racing.
I tell everybody I'm from Santa Cruz because nobody knows where Prunedale is. So Prunedale, California is like where I pretty much was based out of, but my grandfather had a shop in Santa Cruz, muffler shop. So that's kind of the start of the mechanics. But to start riding, we had this little place off of Echo Valley Road in Prunedale, California. And I saw my neighbors riding, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. So we became friends with the neighbors, and they'd ride me around on there. I think they had a Honda 50, and then the older brother had a Suzuki 125. So he'd ride me around on the front until finally my grandfather was like, we need to get this kid a motorcycle. So we went and bought a 1977 Z50, or actually it was a Trail 50. The bars folded down and everything, and I couldn't touch the ground. My grandpa made like a custom seat so that it was a little bit lower, and started riding that I think around 5, and I had that till I was 9. So I'm on this Trail 50, and I watched all the races growing up, like late 90s probably, and kind of fell in love with the sport. And to upgrade from the Z50, we got an XR 100, and that was fun for about a year, and rode that all over the property and whatnot. And my mom got that for me with my stepdad. And moving forward, my neighbor, he kept pushing my mom, pushing her, like, Cam needs a race bike. He needs an 80. He needs an 80. Over and over, we'd call her on the phone, Cam needs an 80, and like hang up. So on her birthday, she took me down to a shop in Gilroy, and she went and got me a CR80. I rode it for about 10 minutes at my house, and we went racing on Saturday. I looped out in practice, I looped out in the first moto, and I didn't make it to the second moto because I was waxed. My head hurt. I was like, Mom, I'm out. And every weekend we'd go up to Los Banos, and we'd try to race Saturday nights at a little fair track, and continue to get better. Still would crash a lot. We'd go down to my buddies and bend my subframe back with his ladder rack and stuff like that. I started to get better, and I kind of progressed early. I jumped on a Honda 250 around, I think I was 13 years old, because the 85 just wasn't doing it for me anymore. And I started racing that, and I started winning, like the beginner class. And then at that time, there was a novice class. I moved into there and started winning. And about a year at a time, I'd progress, and then to the intermediate class. And I ended up making it to like amateur pro, local pro. And then I wanted to get my points, so I went racing. And to make money, I was working for Jeff Pastana, and he did clinics. So my whole career, I was with him, like, or career I say, but like my whole racing came from Pastana, and I was always with him. He let me live at his place for like 2 years. I kind of learned how to work on bikes myself through my grandfather, and just kind of trial and error, like, oh, that didn't work, or it did work.
Racing and riding, we always, my brother and I both did our own bike work. Like, my dad was always busy with his business, and like we didn't have anyone to do our stuff. So it was always kind of, you got to work on it yourself. Like, you got to do your regular maintenance, because if something breaks, it's going to be broke for a while until we can, either I can afford to pay for it or we get extra money to pay for it. So it was never it broke, oh, here's something new, like whatever. So we always had to try to fix it. And then I'd say the actual mechanic, like mindset, like this is what I'm going to start doing, it's probably around 16. Then I ended up stumbling upon like school. An old mechanic started up, Scott Atkins, he started up Pro SXMX Tech. That was in West Virginia. And I kind of looked into that, and it was what I wanted. Like, it was designed for race teams. You learned ins and outs of a bike. It was no classroom. Like, you're not sitting down reading books, doing tests. It was, you're in the shop, building the motor, building the chassis. Like, it seemed like that's what I wanted to do. Like, that was my path. Well, maybe you can go by West Virginia on the way and like check out that school, then go down. It was 600 miles out of the way, 500 miles out of the way, but we're already kind of heading down there. Like, let's try to figure it out before we fully commit. So then we went and showed up, and talked to Scott about the school, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Like, that's it. It's like a 2-year program just thrown into 8 months. Just fully work everything, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea to me. Like, I'm in.
I was working with Pastana, and I kind of was like, dude, the racing side is on its way down. So he had guys coming from Japan, and he was the coach for them. So he needed a mechanic for these riders, so he had 2 mechanics for 4 guys. And we came down to SoCal, and during that's kind of when everything flopped. Like, I was only supposed to be down here for 3 months, and we're kind of getting ready to go back, and Jeff's like, hey, we have an opportunity for you to work for Joe Shimoda. When he first came, family, no English. The mom knew some English. Joe, nothing. Dad, nothing. The sister, nothing. So it was always broken English, speaking with them. And then also, like, with the dad being in Japan, I had to take a little bit of a higher role, like taking him to the tracks, like kind of being in charge of when we're going to get our motors built, or when to build the motors, and training and all these things, until we kind of got a foundation. We ended up getting a coach. The coach was Yenig Curvella, and then I kind of just stepped back into just being the mechanic, where I could just focus on keeping the bike safe for Joe to ride. Joe was 10, I think I was like 23, 22 going on 23, and I never went back home. I stayed in SoCal with Joe. So we moved in together, and I think he was just coming off 65s. I mean, there was opportunities to go with riders that were on teams, but I don't know why, like in my heart, I just felt like the Shimoda family was very loyal to me, and I know loyalty goes a long way with them. So if I stick with this kid that was doing great as a 10-year-old, and then moving forward, I mean, we won a lot of races, and then we went and won Loretta's, and that's when we got signed with the team we're on now.
It was that Carson Mumford actually was looking for a guy. It was like end of April in 2016. So it's like the school was going to end in June, but this job came up, and it was kind of like at the tail end of the school. And I talked over it with like Scott, and he's just like, dude, do it. He's like, you know what you got to know to go there. Like, I'm not going to hold you back from a job to finish another month and a half of school. He's like, that month and a half isn't going to gain you much. Just go. He's like, if you got a job, do it. So then I got hold of Carson's dad. I got his number, and kind of worked it out with him. Like, you know, I ended up like getting a call on like a Monday night. And he's like, yeah, so how about coming out Wednesday morning? Got your plane ticket. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, like I'm in. I landed on Wednesday around like, I don't know, noonish. Went straight to like loading up their motorhome and driving to Oregon with them. It was a straight, like, you're a thrown in kid. We're going to racing. It was like an area qualifier for Loretta's, and it was just, expecting at that time it was on the 150. So it's a bike that's just, no one's ever seen. Like a fuel injected CRF 150, like, come on. Like, that's not an everyday normal bike. And there was like a special procedure to start the thing, and like I'm on the line looking like an idiot because I can't even start the bike. Like his like dad's like, hey, I got it, just you got to do this, and like just look like a full goon, right? I'm like so lost because like this, you know, like that school you learn everything except like race experience. Like you're in a shop, like you know the bike, but like you need experience. No matter how good you are of a mechanic, like you need race experience. Like that was it, and it was so funny. I'm just like, oh God, like just like it's like it was a small race, but I just got thrown in like a first tryout job as here, come racing with us. I'm like, darn, like this is unreal. So we came back, and you know things went good, and this 2 weeks turned into like a month. Came back from I think Washougal, and it was the following weekend I left to go back. I flew back, got my stuff, and drove out, and running around getting a U-Haul trailer, getting my storage unit emptied, like canceling my bank account there because it was like a West Virginia bank, like just so many odds and ends. And like my mom's back at the apartment, like packing up all my stuff, like cleaning it for me, like just top it off. Everything I got to like Phoenix area, my U-Haul trailer caught on fire. Like my hub, like the lady at the U-Haul place like gave me the brand new trailer. She's like, this one you're going across country, like no worries. I'm like, all right, cool. So bang, I was like, what was that? Like white smokes everywhere. I'm like, oh wow. So I pull on the side of the like, interstate. Like I get out, like I thought it was my truck. Like I thought my oil pan blew out or something, like the amount of white smoke, and it sounded like it was under the truck. I like get down all fours, like burn my hands because the asphalt's so hot. I'm like, never experienced this. And then I'm like, no, truck's fine. Like I look back and like my tire's on fire in the trailer, and it's like roaring up the side of my trailer, and I'm like, damn. And then I had like 10 gallons of gas in there. Then I had like both my bikes and stuff, and like my tools, like everything I owned was in the trailer. And luckily enough, like I call the fire department. I'm just like sitting there, I'm like trying to get the trailer off the truck. But like U-Haul trailers like that, they don't have a jack. So I'm like trying to pick it up, and the thing's just, you know, stupid heavy. I'm like trying to pull the pin out and like drop the hitch, but the thing's got so much like corrosion in there, like I can't even, like I tried like jerking forward and stuff, and it wouldn't even release. So finally I'm just like, this sucks, like this sucks. I ended up getting it off and stuff, and the fire department came, but like I just added another 4 hours onto my already tireless trip, and then finally get there, and it kind of all went good from there.
So I was being paid by Shimoda Family. So I was the practice guy. Ricky was in-house race guy. And I did, like I said, I did that for 2 years, and then opportunity opened up where Ricky moved forward and there was an amateur position. So that was a really heartbreaker too, because I was so loyal to the Shimoda family that when that came about, they were a little bit upset. They thought like I was being maybe a little shady. Not shady, they were just concerned because they're like, why are you leaving us? But I had to explain to them, I need to better my career, and Joe's bettering his career. So if things fall into place, it could be perfect where I could stay with Joe for a long time. So if you allow me to move forward, because I didn't want to leave him alone, so I went and searched for a practice guy for them that fit the position, and we finally made an agreement, and I signed with the team. This will be my second year, so a year ago. No, I have to check. Yeah, it's been 1 year. 1 year, so I think I did 9 months as an amateur guy, and then just got thrown right into the pro leagues after Loretta's. So we went from being together every day, like basically like brothers, and now we carry that. It's almost turned into like a family for me. Like the Shimodas take care of me, and I take care of their son, you know? So it's definitely grown, and it's gotten from day one, it's I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, I don't have a lot of people out here as far as family goes, so I kind of turn to them. So I would say it's going really well. And total different culture too, though. Like being the Japanese style compared to American style, it's pretty insane. It was tough because even with testing and stuff like that, he doesn't have a lot of information. He'll just ride the motorcycle. Like going back from when he was a kid, he was running like stock suspension and stuff. And he got to a point where I'm like, guys, he needs like something good, like something that he can rely on, because he's overriding the bike now. So that's still kind of how he is to this day, where he's like, he'll ride anything, but it's hard to get information out of him. He's getting a lot better, little by little, and now that he's seen he can be up in the top 5, it was like, I think that was fuel to the fire for him. That gave him the confidence I think he needed to know that he's capable of being up there.
Like I really wanted the job, right? And I knew it was open. There's talks of like other people getting it, and I was just like, man, this sucks. So, like I never wanted to be the person that was begging someone or bugging them all the time for the job. So I just stopped. Like I kept just doing my work day in, day out. You know, I had to do a little bit more stuff than I was there with a race guy at the time. So like I had to, get his photo shoot bike ready. I was always hoping that maybe I'd get a call or I'd get the offer like, hey, you're already doing it. Do you want to, step in? And I was home for Christmas, and then because Will Hahn was our amateur manager at the time, so I get a call from him. It was decently late. Remember, I was just hanging out with some family, and I was just like, "What's he want?" He's like, "Hey, man, just a little small talk." And then I was like, "So, you interested in the team job?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, of course, like teenager me was just beyond stoked. Like, just my dreams are coming true much sooner than I ever thought. Right? Like, I just started in May, and then it's already Christmas time. 8 months later or whatever, and I'm getting offered a job on the team. I'm like, wow, like this went quick. Like I didn't expect this kind of, expedited procedure going on here. I just expected to work a lot more years as a practice guy and then get offered a job. It didn't take away from what I do with Carson, because I still was his practice guy too. I was still doing everything with him, going up and getting him and all that, but plus the additional race side of it. So it was a lot. It was a lot more responsibility, obviously. Like kind of being a practice guy, like I was here a lot, but there's a lot of stuff that you don't see or you don't think about because you don't have to worry about it. Like you're not worried about ordering stuff and building other stuff, and you're actually handed more. Fall of 2018, after Monster Cup, Jet came in, and at the time Dan Bentley was the team manager, and he's like, the amateur guys kind of had, like our mechanics had 2 riders. I had 1 rider. We had 3 riders at the time. So like the other amateur mechanic had Carson and Joe, and then I had just Yoder. And then Jet came on, and I was also handed Jet as my rider, and I said, yeah, like I'll handle both, like no worries. It's interesting. He keeps it fun. Keeps it like you're always on your toes. He could probably say the same about me. Like he doesn't know what's going to come out of my mouth next, and I don't know what's going to come out of his mouth next. And he's made quite a big change from when he first came over. He first came over, just this 15-year-old kid, just kind of like new to the world. Not new to the world, but like it's a new world for him over here. Everything's different. He's around kids his age at the races. He's not, around people 10 years older than him, racing them. He's in his own age group, and I think it kind of opened him up. Like he's always, like I'm sure before he came over, he was always a very outgoing kid, but like to have the interaction with him, I think helped him quite a bit. But like him as a rider to mechanic, like last year was an unreal, like the bars are bent. He's like riding it, doesn't notice like for a few days. Like I put new bars on or I rebuild the bike and he's like, hey, the bars are bent. You know, I'm like, no, those are new. Like, you were riding with them bent then. He's like, oh, like, I didn't know. Like, just kind of like, in a way, kind of like oblivious to it, because like he just gets up and rides it, because he's like, especially at a race, like he's gonna get up and just, like if he has a tip over or breaks a clutch lever or a brake lever, like he's not gonna just stop and be like, hey, my bars are bent or this or that. Like he gets up and gets used to it. He like tweaked the bike in between races, and he's just like, hey, I think they're bent. You're like, no, I bent them back. Like, he raced with them bent. He's just like, oh, okay. Like he's pretty mellow. Like he likes, you know, levers where they are. Once his suspension, he's happy with suspension. Like you don't hear anything from him. It's just, I want to ride. So it makes life for us kind of a little mellower.
Normal day, if it's Monday and we're riding, we'll be here early because we'll probably take the rig, and everybody, if we're going testing, everybody's on the same program. So we all get here in the morning, make sure the truck's clean, ready to go, and we'll head out to the track. Get to the track around, 8:45 and unload. Everyone helps unload, everyone helps get ready, and then it's about our bikes. And then if one guy's needs help, we'll jump in and tag team the motorcycle to get it done quicker so that we can get suspension flipped around, whatever we need to do. Once we think we're good with our testing for the day, which is usually anywhere from 2 to 5, depending on how our riders are feeling, and then we'll come back and do the regular maintenance on our motorcycles. We'll wash, change oil, if there's any more suspension crap or motor stuff that we got to do for the next day, we get that done. But if we're just having a normal shop day, it's kind of whatever needs to be done, come in. I like to try to set a schedule for my week, like always being at 8 or 7:45. Like, it's pretty open to come in when you want, but it's nice to set your schedule so you can get in, get your job done, and then leave around 5, maybe 6 or 7, sometimes 8. You never know what you're gonna get.
I imagine.
I think this job is one of the most intense jobs, and I can't say in the world, but like you give up a lot, and you give up a lot for your rider. Like you said, you give up vacation time, like holidays, spending time with your family. I mean, we leave on Wednesday, we come home Sunday, we work Monday, Tuesday, and we leave again on Wednesday. And we do it at weeks at a time. But it's definitely a sacrifice. It's not for everybody. I mean, some guys get a taste and they don't come back. And the guys that stay are the guys that want to drive and make their rider, their team, the best on the gate.
I haven't had Thanksgiving with my family because of mini O's for over 4 years. But like my mom went down and like, you know, she would meet me there, but like the whole family, you know, just those kind of things. You gotta step away from normal life to do this, but there's nothing really for another job that compares to this. Kind of like the work freedom you have, kind of the, you know, you're not as restricted to you have to be here at 8 a.m. every day and do this. Like, as long as your work's done and you do a good job and you're a team player, like, you kind of write your own schedule a little bit. Like, you know, everyone's in here at different time, everyone leaves different times, and like, it's as long as you do your part, that's the biggest thing.